You talked about having a pocket that would allow him to use his eyes to manipulate the defense, to be able to take that hitch, to be able to scan the field. And I'll be damned if from early on in the game he didn't get some of that done.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're being honest, I think the one thing we learned is that someone's definitely listening to our segments, right?
Yes,
Because
we've
came
been
on here and
joking about that.
we said, hey, what do you need to do against this Washington defense? And what you had to do is you had to take some deep shots. And let's be honest, that's what we did, right? We ripped a couple of backside stops, but by and large, we were taking shot plays and they were working at an insane clip. So to me, the big thing was, hey, we were able to protect him, right? I think the only thing that I'm truly disappointed about is the lack of connection, right? It just felt like him and Mooney were a step off. But if it's other than that, I thought it was a solid game. I thought it was a really great game plan, right? Like I come on here, we all criticize Getsy, and I think it's important to, when they do put a good product out there, to say, heck of a job, right? Because the reality is the concepts were there. We ran Justin in a creative way too. That was the most creativity I think we've seen in the quarterback run game. So to me, I don't know how a Bears fan isn't excited on Friday. Plus, you don't have a Sunday to dread because we already won on Thursday. So you got a free weekend.
The offensive line, I thought, played incredible. I thought they kicked butt. What did you see on film?
Yeah, I thought the O-line held up really well in pass pro, considering who they were going against. Right? I think that was our big concern, wasn't it? Hey, you come in here, this D-line can get after us. If they're going to get after us with 4, we're going to be in trouble. The reality is the defense started getting after us in the second half. And why was that? To me, it was because they started heating us up, right? It wasn't because they were getting home with 4 anymore, which to me is a good sign for the Chicago Bears offense. If we can hold up against 4-man rushes to where we force people into pressure, now we create those one-on-one opportunities. And I think any talk about DJ Moore not being a bona fide number 1 was hopefully calmed down last night.
So what happens now? What's the next thing? How can you take this success and make it matter when the Minnesota Vikings are now watching this film and saying, oh boy, okay, we can't let this happen. We have to allot resources over here. What's that going to open up for them?
We have to be ready to attack the formation side. What I mean by that is 3-by-1, right? 3 receivers on one side, DJ Moore backside. How many times did we see us hit DJ Moore and then he makes it a big play? You will not see another rep of a backside one-on-one matchup for DJ Moore in the next 2 weeks. Knowing they're going to have to dedicate a corner and a safety to his side, we have to be ready to attack front side. To me, the way you attack front side, put Mooney in the slot, put Cole Kmet as the number 3 receiver, so the guy closest to Justin Fields. I don't care who's outside as number 1. Run him on the clear. Let Mooney go ahead and run some middle reads where he's either vertical or on the post. It's less of a timing thing, like we saw some issues last night, and it's more of a see it, throw it, and then let Kmet work underneath some of those 10-yard kind of stick routes where he can feel it either turn in or turn out. And then that's how you're going to attack these defenses, the way they're going to have to be structured. And then at the end of the day, once they start kicking into too high, don't be afraid to run Justin. If you do that, I honestly think I don't want to say roll, because you really shouldn't roll anyone in the NFL. They have a really good shot at going and beating Minnesota. And then all of a sudden they're 2-4 and you keep making a run and things could get special up there.
There was a moment last night where I was like, let me try and think like Tim Jenkins would think. And it was, I forget which touchdown it was, but the Bears ran a receiver up the seam and the safety cheated. The safety's eyes cheated towards that receiver. And it left DJ Moore open in the corner of the end zone. And I'm like, Tim Jenkins would be so proud that the Bears hit that, and he'd be so mad at that safety for not doing his responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do that as a safety. It's like you lose track of DJ Moore is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. But what I will say, too, is that formation was exciting because who'd they have all the way outside? They had a running back, and they ran him on a hitch. Guess what? We're never throwing that. But you still have to have a defender out there, right? Then you have DJ Moore in the slot, and we do what's called a slot takeoff. So really, we switch those 2 routes. Traditionally, the number 2 receiver is the guy on the stick. The number 1 receiver is the guy on the go. We flipped them, bumped DJ Moore inside. You lose track of him because you got Mooney pressing the seam vertically real hard. And then all of a sudden, it's like an easy touchdown. And remember, that one's I want to say it was like 3rd and 14, right? We're sitting there thinking, hey, Bears are going to get out of here with 3. Never mind, another 6, right? So to me, it was like, those are the kind of things where I do think we're starting to see Luke come out of his shell a little bit. And in reality, I almost think, like, to a degree, Luke is sitting here saying, okay, I'm done with this, where I'm not putting this product on tape anymore. I'm going to kind of let Justin sink or swim. And if we're learning anything, we're learning that Justin's going to swim, and we're learning that Luke might not be as bad as we thought. It is unfortunate that it took us 4 weeks to get here, though, right? Because it really started against the Broncos, and now it's carried over. But to me, it's like, let's just keep this thing going. Stay innovative in the pass game. Stay creative with how you're going to run Justin, and let's see if we can kind of rip some off here and see where we're at. If all of a sudden we're in the chase for that wild card spot,
because there's some success here for this offense. How does Justin and Getsy, how do they stay on the same page? Like, what are the things that Justin will think about this weekend and say, all right, like, look at what we did in both Denver and against Denver and in Washington, and let's keep doing that. How do they stay hot and stay with what's working?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Justin just has to keep telling Luke, listen, you can trust me to let this thing rip down the field, because that's why they're successful. You rip the ball down the field, you scare a defense into too high, and then you can start running the ball effectively, right? As long as they feel like they can live in one high and man you up, you're going to struggle to run the ball. But I also think, you know what they have playing to both of their advantages? They've got number 2 outside, who scares the hell out of everybody now, right? Like, anyone who didn't watch DJ in Carolina now watch him on Thursday night and realize, okay, yeah, this guy's an absolute dude, right? So to me, it's like, people are going to be so scared to run man coverage against this team that they're going to be forced into more of those soft shells, those too high shells. And at that point, I really think this Bears offense can thrive. And then you can start getting to the really sexy stuff like RPO, where, hey, we're going to read that will backer that's apex. There's a lot of stuff that comes from all of this that's really exciting. We're not there yet because we're not getting those defensive looks from a structure standpoint. But I'm telling you, with the matchups that we're putting on tape, there's going to come a point where a defense just doesn't have a choice other than to start to give us that RPO game and that QB run game.
It's interesting that you talk about them playing the shell, because isn't 2-man also an option if you're
not against Justin, because now you got people turning their back to him and he's gone.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that every time, though. I mean, the temptation is going to be there, because I remember it was when the Bears were working it with Olsen and with Brandon Marshall, I want to say, that it was the Packers were very successful in showing them a variation of zone looks and 2-man.
Yeah, I think 2-man is something that when you look at it, kind of what Lauren said, where it's like, it's run it at your own peril, right? Because it's one of those things that you're dead on, Dan. 4 out of 5 times, QB's not going to tuck it and run it. But that 5th time, it feels like and just watching the NFL perspective,
it's 30 yards of that.
Yeah, and it's 3rd and 16, right? It's like the backbreakers, where it's like you get the sack on 1st and 10. Okay, 2nd down, we ran the ball. 3rd and 16. All right, let's go 2-man one more time. And that's the one that all of a sudden your fan base is like, are you kidding me? 2-man against Justin Fields? What they didn't realize is we ran it on 1st and 2nd down too, right? Like, to me, those are the kind of things, though, where those could be the potential backbreakers for a defense. I do think even 2-man, though, with the personnel the Bears have now, Brandon Marshall, he's a true number 1. You got to play him outside. DJ Moore, he's a true number 1 from the standpoint of he can play X. But, hey, what did we just talk about? His touchdown reception came from the number 2 spot. He can go play F. He can play a modified Y. Like, this kid, to me, it's harder to go 2-man because 2-man is really great at really bracketing those outside guys. And, like, yeah, sure, the safety can then drive the middle read. But your one formation of getting Mooney outside to where he'll take the roof off the defense, safety has to play deep, DJ Moore bends it in, and then it's not 2-man anymore, it's 1-on-1, right? Now, sure, he won't make the explosive because he'll get tackled by that deep safety, but there's ways formationally for this offense to still win if they do go 2-man. But, man, if we got to a point where we're coming on midseason and we're all talking about, hey, what are the Bears 2-man beaters? Like, I just think that would be special, because that's what people are saying for the Chiefs. Right? Like, hey, how are we going to say we got to go 2-man? So to me, it's like, if that's where this Bears offense gets, I think we're going to have a lot more exciting plays. And then we're going to talk about, like, hey, Justin had a couple of gash runs when the defense turned on him in critical situations. And I just think we just got to keep pounding it one thing at a time, which is continue with the current game plan of let's block it up. Let's take some shots, force them in a soft shell. We'll hit them with RPO. We'll hit them with QB run. And then once they really get soft with 2-man, I just think at that point, like, we've already got him.
Tim, I've always been kind of lukewarm on Cole Kmet, and I think it's probably because of expectations. Like I did want the Bears to draft him. I was very much in his corner when it came to that. But once he got to the pros, I'm like, you know what? He's a little bit more limited athletically than I thought he was going to be. That being said, I think that there is an effective role for him, and I feel like over the last few weeks they've started to discover that. How can he be most effectively used?
Yeah, three things. Like the shallow that we saw him score his touchdown on. Let his big body get across first in the red zone. And if he's open, take it. If not, guess what? DJ Moore, Mooney, they'll be running that. We call it the back line where you're running, 2 yards off the end of the end zone, the other crosser, right? That's number one. Number two is you get him involved in some of those deep sit routes right over the ball, but you let Mooney or Moore attack the safety to where the safety's got to either jump way back and take away the home run, or he's got to drive on Kmet, and then we've got the home run, right? That's the second way. Third way is what you saw on that QB sweep where he's not it's like this fine line. He's not, in my opinion, physically gifted enough to really run like corners and posts that would stress like a nickel, right? Like Travis Kelce can stress a nickel. Kmet can't stress the nickel, but he's super athletic from the standpoint of, I'm going to go ahead and sell like we're running basically ISO with our running back, and then I'm going to peel out and lead Justin. So those are the three ways you can use him. But now let's take it one step further and say, the play where we faked running back and then Justin spins out and he's on QB sweep and Kmet's leading him. The next variation off that is you run that from the 8-yard line and Justin, right? Oh, we're acting like we're running power. Boom, I peel out of there. And guess what? Kmet, instead of blocking that linebacker, slips him and he's wide open in the back of the end zone. Those kind of easy touchdowns that come off creative stuff. That's where I really see Kmet's role. And I think he's one of those guys. I don't think he ever goes 8 for 100, but I think we'll see some stat lines where it's, 6 for 42 and 3 of them are touchdowns. You know what I mean? Because we have so many gimmick plays that we can use with him to generate wide open red zone targets.
The numbers tell the story on Cole Kmet right now. I mean, obviously he has an extra game on some others, but even if you look at, say, a metric like fantasy points per game, he's the 4th rated tight end in football, and the guy ahead of him is Travis Kelce.
Here's what I'll tell you guys about fantasy is I'm the worst fantasy player of all time because I draft like 4 actual positions. I'm like, hey, I want a quarterback with good leadership, right? I want to, I got 2 running backs. Here's what I'll tell you though is, who I did draft? DJ Moore. And I'm telling you right now, I got a text from my buddy about, 4 o'clock Colorado time. He's on the East Coast. The poor kid woke up devastated, right? It's already over for him. So to me, I'm like, I'm the happiest guy today breaking this down because I'm just smiling watching DJ Moore gash him last night.
No Bears receiver has ever had that kind of game with over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl era. The last time it happened for the Bears was 1954 when Harlan Hill did it.
What's crazy to me too is it could have been bigger. If Justin and him connect on that stutter go, right, in the red zone, that Justin barely overshoots him. I'm thinking to myself, like, this, I mean, he could have had 300 yards last night, right? Like, it was special. But, hey, that's what he can do if you play him backside one-on-one. And there's not that many guys in the league that you can truly say that about. Of if we get you backside one-on-one, you're in trouble for over 200. And he's one of those guys, and I think it's great for us to have him.
So maybe after a day where Justin rests, he gets some body work done, maybe he has a steak tonight. What do you want him doing the rest of the weekend before he comes back into the building?
I don't think he eats meat, does he?
Oh, that's right. He doesn't eat meat. Before he has a nice piece of fish.
Nice piece of tofu.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's the tofu. It's just probably the lentils, right? You're just pounding the lentils.
I thought that he went pescatarian too.
Oh, did he?
I thought that he went pescatarian. So a nice piece of fish
get him
for salmon, steak, or something like that.
Huachinango a la Veracruzana.
Either way,
Nice big
once he has his weekend where he can kind of enjoy himself, Tim, what do you want him focusing on for the next game?
I want to see continued timing from the footwork, because what I will tell you is I still don't think the footwork is perfect. I think the right foot back is still too ambiguous for my liking. With that being said, it seems like it's here to stay. So what I want to see more of is, hey, we're hitting that back foot ready to rip it versus that slight reset. I want to see him continue that from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, keep staying in that zone where he's attacking with the football. The reality is we need him to hunt with the football. He's doing a great job of it. The last thing I want to do is see him get back to where he was week 1 with the checkdowns. Keep attacking with the football, and we'll live with the results.